Well, hello. Thank you for joining me this morning for another edition of Doc's Coffee Talk. I feel like the comedian that once said, "I just flew in, and boy, my arms are tired." It's been a whirlwind week and a busy week, and this week has been the same so far. And but it's been a blessed week. It's been a blessed 2 weeks, and I thank you for joining me once again this morning. I thank you for your continued prayers. As when I left the last time, I talked to you about my wife's brother and continued prayers for him, and I thank you for understanding the lack of having a devotional last week, because we did make that emergency trip out to Florida to see him, and there really just was no time to record and make a devotional for last week. But I appreciate your prayers and thank you for that. So now that I feel like Gomer Pyle, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am sincere though in those thanks for those prayers. So here we are this morning. This will be short, but we're at Calvary Baptist Church, and all of the Wolf City area has just ended a wonderful community revival, and can't say revival week anymore. Those things just don't happen. But we had Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night here with Paul and Vanessa Cherry that always do a great work. And I truly love revival services, although we haven't had that many recently, namely due to the lack of evangelists that are out there, and revivals finding people that'll do them, and let me put it this way, quality people that will do them. And but I do truly love revival services. I love them because I'm just like you. I need revival. I love them because each one of them's different. That's why I like Paul and Vanessa. Rarely ever have I heard him speak the same message. Most evangelists, used to, all they need is five messages. They just repeat them. Well, that's not the way Paul works, and I really appreciate that. But I love them because they're different. I love them because the speaker, this week being Paul, can say things that have already been said many times before by the preachers in the churches, but people hear them like maybe it's the first time, but they hear them and they begin a heart change, or they see a need, or they seek to do that which they're encouraged or called or challenged to do. And I love them for that. I love them because of the unity they bring to the churches and to the communities. This revival was just like that. So I come up with this thought. So the revival services have ended. Now what? What are we going to do? The services are over. We ended last night with another great service. But what are we going to do now? Will we continue the fire that was started, the flame? Will we fan that flame, or will we put it out? Will we continue to grow and change in the challenges that were made to us, or what God's doing in our lives? Will we continue to ask God to reveal sin and confess it to Him? Will we continue in this unity I talked about? Will we continue in forgiveness? Will we continue to tell others about who Jesus is and their need for Him? Will we continue? Or will we go back to the way we were? So one last thought. How do we keep the fire? How do we keep the fire? Well, I think the first thing we have to do is realize our need for God to revive us daily, to keep us from becoming stagnant. You realize it only takes one day for us to fall back. And then the next day it's 2, and the next day it's 3, the next day it's 4. It only takes one day. So we need to realize our need for God to revive us every day, and that needs to be our prayer every morning. Lord, revive me today. Keep that flame going. The second thing, I think, how do we keep the fire going? Keep us from going back to the way we were. prioritize. So we had realized, and now it's going to be prioritize. Prioritize your time starting now. If I could have given you this message last night or Tuesday night after the revival, starting now. Give God back what belongs to Him in the first place, especially worship time on Sundays. Give it back to Him. Let's stop prioritizing everything else in our lives that don't make a hill of beans difference in anything else, especially in our world or anything spiritually for God, and let's give God back His time. Oh, he's gone to meddling. The last thing, agonize. Some of you are agonizing already, but agonize. And when I say agonize, we need to agonize in prayer. When was the last time you've done that? Agonize in prayer over your sin and the sin that's in this stinking world that we live in that is just more and more evident and getting more and more out of control every day. We need to agonize over that sin, but we need to agonize especially over our sin. And we need to agonize for the lost, praying for them, praying for those that are in our families and our friends, those contacts we come into contact with, those people we come into contact with. Agonize over prayer for them. And then agonize over your story so that your story will be authentic. And remember what we heard this past week. Our story is nothing if it doesn't include Jesus or point people to Jesus Christ, what they need most of all. So we need to agonize for our story to be authentic in Him and pointing people to Him in our testimony. So the services have ended. Now what?